So, are you wondering what an LLC is and how it really works? Well, in today's video, I'm going to break it down for you so that by the end of this video, you know what an LLC really means in reality and how it actually works to legally protect you and your business. I'm Vander, Wielen, attorney turned entrepreneur and woman who breaks down this overly complicated legal stuff. For the best legal tips, subscribe to my channel, and each and every Tuesday you'll get bite-sized legal tips just like this one. I've helped thousands of women who are coaches and creatives online learn how to legally protect their businesses and even decide whether an LLC is right for them and when. And now it's your turn. So let's just jump right in. What is an LLC? So first and foremost, LLC stands for Limited Liability Company. People often mistakenly say limited liability corporation. It's actually company. And it is so simple, and it's just something that gets overcomplicated way too often online. A limited liability company, an LLC, is simply a business entity type, right? So when you decide to register your business, and people will use all different kinds of terms for this, like register your business, form your business, all that kind of stuff. It's all the same thing. When you decide to register or form your business, you are picking what type of business you're registering. And I don't mean what type in terms of like a coaching business or a creative business. I mean, you're choosing what business structure. And so a business entity is really the structure of the business that you're picking. And there are all different types. You might have heard of some of them. So LLC is one. There's sole proprietorship, corporation, partnership, and so on, right? And these are what I like to say, it's like choosing a house structure. So it's like if you were building a house, you would sit down and you would choose what kind of house you want to build. Do you want to build a ranch home? Do you want to build a condo in a big apartment building in the middle of the city? Do you want to build a McMansion? I don't know. Do you want a tiny home? So you have to choose what kind of home that you're building. And based on that, it kind of limits you, right? In terms of the literal structure of the home. Well, picking a business type is kind of the same thing, because really when you're picking your business entity, you're picking the business structure, and then that limits you or gives you certain rights and responsibilities as a business owner. So you really want to do your homework and your due diligence in figuring out what these different types are, what the pros and cons are, and then seeing like what's right for you. And I'm going to walk you through that a bit today. So an LLC is just a type of business entity, and it is what we call a state-created entity. So every single state in America has an LLC law, and they actually tell you exactly what that state's law is regarding LLCs and how they're treated by that state's law and all that kind of fun stuff. So there are pros and cons that are maybe more state-specific in America, but overall we can talk generally today about what the pros and cons are of an LLC in general. So because LLCs are state-created entities, we register for our LLC if it's right for us and if and when we're ready and all that good stuff. We register our LLC in the state where we live and work. So you want to always look up, like I always recommend Googling your state followed by LLC, or even if you're in more of the beginning stages and you're not even sure if you need or want an LLC yet, then you can Google like your state business registration and look at the list of your state's different types of business entities, what the registration process is like for each of them, what the pros and cons are, all that fun stuff. If you're ready to go the LLC route, then I highly recommend first looking into what your state requires to become an LLC, what obligations you'll have, what annual requirements you'll have, all of that. So with LLCs, really the major pro to LLCs in general, no matter where we are, is that they offer us what's called limited personal liability protection. And that's something I'm going to go over in the second half of this video in much more detail. But I just wanted to make you aware of it as we're talking about what an LLC really is. It's really an entity that was created to separate people personally from their businesses. So you have the business over here and you over here. It's no longer that you're just like an individual or operating on your own. And then last but not least, before we move on to talking about how an LLC actually works to legally and personally protect you, I just wanted to mention that there are so many myths out there about LLCs. There are so many myths about timing, how much money you should make before you get one, how many clients. I have heard it all in almost 3 years in business. I've probably received every DM and every email that you can think of with every variation of the myth regarding LLCs. So if you're thinking of one as I'm talking with you about LLCs, I want you to comment below and let me know what you're thinking. What are some questions that you have about that? Maybe timing myths, money myths, something like that. Even a myth about whether you really need one. Just drop it in the comments below. Okay, so now let's move on to talking about how an LLC actually works. Like, what does it even do to legally protect you? I totally understand the confusion. So an LLC actually provides you that limited personal liability protection that I talked about earlier. And as I mentioned, it separates you personally from the business. So that means that if there was a problem, right? In other words, if you were sued, threatened to be sued, if you have debts or liabilities, anything like that in the business, they are debts and liabilities of the business, not you personally, right? Now, there are caveats. This is not an absolute. As I always say, and as I teach women every single day in my community, you have to actually act like an LLC. So with acting like an LLC, we have to be very, very clear in our boundaries and in the way that we do business online, that we are, in fact, a business and not acting as a person. This isn't like a fun side project blog thing. We're actually a business. We're asking people to work with us, to make money, all of that kind of stuff. That's actually something that I go into great detail in my free workshop. I actually link to it below. It's called The First 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business. And in that workshop, I not only go over in much more detail what an LLC is and what alternatives are, like a sole proprietorship, for example. So it'd be a great workshop for you if you're trying to decide between the two. I also go into depth in this topic of like, how do you act like an LLC? Because what I see happening so often online is that people will tell me, oh, I'm all good, I have an LLC, but then they're not actually acting like it. And I'm concerned that they're destroying that personal liability protection that they otherwise would have been granted. So definitely click the link below to check out my free on-demand workshop, The First 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business. You can go on there and pick any day and time to watch it that works for you, and you'll be able to dive much deeper into this topic. So before we go, what questions do you have about LLCs and how they work? Just drop them in the comments below. Let me know what you're still wondering about, especially those myths, like I said earlier, about whether an LLC is right for you, whether it's the right time, whether you've reached that point in your business, if an LLC even makes sense. Feel free to drop those in the comments. And if you liked this video, please comment below and let me know that this was helpful. And before you go, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. You can do so right here and hit that bell button so that you can be the first to find out each and every Tuesday when I post a hot new bite-sized legal tip.